What's up, guys? We got another game with the black pieces. We are up against Messias Maciel, rated 1662, strong player. He goes e4 and d4, creating a strong center. We are going to play knight f6, attacking the pawn. He defends the pawn by going queen f3. What does this threaten? Nothing. It just defends the pawn. What is the drawback? Undefend gets off this diagonal. It takes away the square from the knight. It's susceptible to attacks in the future. So you have options. You can go into I guess a Pirc with queen on f3. You can go into a Philidor. I'm gonna go just e5. He hasn't played any moves that stop me from taking the center. So I'm just gonna stake my claim immediately. He decides to push past instead of making the trade. What does this threaten? Nothing. It just gains some space. Forces me to develop a different way. What is the drawback? Doesn't develop a piece, and I'll happily start a kingside attack after I develop. So what do I want to do? I want to prioritize castling. So I'm just going to develop my bishop and castle. I know a lot of you probably see this, but at the moment he just moves his queen, right? So it doesn't really do anything, so I'm going to save it in my pocket. He goes h3. What does this threaten? Nothing. It just stops my pieces from going here. What is the drawback? It doesn't develop. It's a slow move, and eventually I'm going to attack him on the king side, so making pawn moves here on the side where he's going to be weaker is probably not a good idea because it gives me a hook in the future. Okay, so what do I want to do? I'm just going to castle, keep it simple. My position looks perfectly fine. I have some pieces developed. I'm castled by move 5. I have a pawn in the center, so he doesn't overwhelm me. I'm doing well. White goes knight c3. What does this threaten? Nothing. It supports the center with a piece, but doesn't exactly do anything in particular except defend this pawn. Not a scary move, nonetheless. We don't want to develop this. Well, we can't develop this here, so we're just going to leave it at home for the time being. And we're just going to bring the knight into the game towards the center. Try to develop it. Maybe we'll go to c5. Maybe we won't. So white goes bishop to e2. What does this threaten? Nothing. It just develops a piece because these squares are blocked. And now his knight actually has nowhere to go, so that's the drawback of the move. So he, at least put it somewhere else to give your knight some space. Okay, so I'm happy to see that. It's our turn. If we put our knight here, he always can kick us. So I'm going to preempt it with a5. It gains a little space on the queen side. It gains a little space for my rook. And it allows me to go knight c5 without giving him b4. So he goes queen over. What does this threaten? He's clearly trying to set up some type of thing on my king. That's why he's lining up with my king. The drawback is he's moving his queen again, and it will remain susceptible again to attacks. Right now, I mean, you have lots of ways to respond probably. Which way do I want to choose? I'm going to just make the prophylactic king h8. Now he can't go bishop h6 because we take it. And he can't attack us further. This also allows a future rook g8 if he castles kingside, which supports our pawn advance. So white goes a4. What does this threaten? Nothing. He's just copying me. But it doesn't really make sense for him because mine was with the idea of knight c5. He doesn't have the equivalent plan, so it's just a waste of time for him. He has undeveloped pieces. So I want to continue developing. This looks like a nice square. So I'm putting my knight here. This creates a threat on the pawn in the center. Um, White moves the bishop here. What does this threaten? Nothing. It's just a purely passive defensive move. Drawback, passive defensive move, moving the same piece again, takes away the square from the knight. So, pretty lame. Now it's our turn. What do we want to do? We have some options. We could try to move this knight so we could play f5. That seems reasonable. We can't go here. We could try to go here and then this way. We could just bring it back to e8 probably. So like on knight e8, what could white do? I'm not really seeing it, so I'm just gonna go knight e8, just like you sometimes see in the King's Indian. You try to get the knight out of the way. e8 is a square that doesn't interfere with the other pieces. That's why it's kind of nice. And after you play f5, you can put the knight back where it came from. But you could see how it doesn't interfere with the rook, the bishop, the queen, or the other bishop. It's like perfectly out of the way. Okay, so white develops his knight to its only available square. What's the threat? No threat, just trying to develop. The knight's actually dominated and has no further squares, so he develops, but it's pretty bad. Now it's our turn. What do we want to do? We can play f5 immediately, but that after he takes, gives his pieces the e4 square. So we could try to go g6 to try to recapture with the pawn, King's Indian style. However, going g6 creates lots of weaknesses he can take advantage of immediately. So maybe we keep the king side solid and just push. If he takes, we could take with the bishop. He hops a knight in. Well, then that loses a piece, so he can't hop the knight in. And it's kind of hard for him to coordinate on that square. Normally they can put a piece here, but the way his pieces are set up, this knight on e2 can't support this square. So now we're creating a threat. Our rook is perfectly open, our bishop's perfectly open, our king is nice and safe in the corner, and we have a beautiful position. And white made multiple moves with his bishop, multiple moves with his queen. He blocked his knight's development, natural development. And he has nothing to really attack. So he develops his last minor piece. What does this threaten? To take the knight, and if I recapture, my central pawn is hanging. I mean, okay, might even be playable, but no reason to allow it. His pawn is hanging. The knight doesn't really have good jumps. If he takes it, he does have access to the center. That's the one downside. So is it possible to push e4 here? If he takes with the knight, you just take it. If he takes with the bishop, you just take it. If he takes your knight, you take his bishop. I think the tactics work out for me, and I think it's an important move to always consider play on these central squares, especially with pawns, because it may be the best move. If I just do like the b6, which is kind of natural, and I was thinking about it, sometimes an idea, so you can recapture with the b pawn, you have a nice structure, an open b file, but the thing is, once he takes the knight, it's a defender of this square. So he removes the light square defender, and then he has access. So by pushing our pawn, we take away that square, attack the bishop. So now he moves the bishop. The drawback of my move is it gives his pieces squares, so that's not good. He goes here. What does it threaten? It threatens a piece trade. How do I want to play this? You could take, but that seems... I'm going to just drop it back, maintain defense of the pawn, open my rook, and say your bishop... It's a little weird here. It's in the way of your own pawns. It's not really doing anything. I mean, just so you know, this move here, if you want to be safe and solid, you definitely don't play that. It's a crazy move and it might actually just be bad, but you would need time to really analyze the consequences. Giving his pieces these squares is probably really bad. But he goes h4. What does this threaten? To hit my bishop again. That's fair. It does look kind of risky, h5, because it undefends the bishop. It's an interesting move, but I don't think it's good. What can we do here? How do we activate further? We can get this knight back in the game like it should be. Let's do that. Let's just develop a piece because we're running low on time. This knight we can always take in response to this. So he threatens our bishop. We could actually drop back and hit this pawn, which he can't really defend. Maybe he can, but that looks very awkward. Anyway, what can we do? We could take his bishop. That's a nice piece to grab. You know, maintaining control of the light squares. Let's start with that because I think that's a really good piece to take. Because if we can have the only light square bishop, that would be really nice. So he takes with the queen, and we can drop back and hit this pawn, or we can go forward and hit the queen. I'm just going to go forward because it maintains defense of this pawn since it is currently hit twice, and we get the turn back since it's a forcing move. So he moves his queen. He might be setting this up, but I have a clear response. He does have this diagonal, but I have a dark square bishop, and I'm going to take the diagonal first. Because yes, I gave his square some pieces, which is bad, but it also created space for my pieces, which is good. Of course, it's probably better to have this here and keep his knight dominated, but this is fun. He goes h6. What does this threaten? To open up the h file is the real thing. So we don't want that. We should probably just close it before I run out of time. And this diagonal's covered momentarily or temporarily. I'm gonna put my bishop here. That's an idea. Maybe just go b6, queen f6, rook e8. What other moves do I want? And then eventually bishop here. I don't know, it all depends on what he does, I guess. He hops his knight in, hits our bishop. I'm not going to let him take it. I'm going to keep the domination over the light squares and open up my rook. I'm the only one with a light square bishop, and look at all the work it puts in. It really covers these squares very nicely. So he's moving around his thing, shifting. I don't really have time to think, so let's just make an automatic move that looks good. Okay, increase activity. Queen f6. What else? What else? What else? Queen f6. Triple stack. I'm not thinking or calculating. I'm just making moves that look good, which may be very bad moves. They might be blunders. But I can't explain a game without going low on time, because I need to talk about the moves. I can obviously move much faster, but in the beginning of the game and stuff, but then I can't really explain with the position on the board. Okay, so he's just moving his knights, undefends the center. I don't know what to do with such low time, so I'm just gonna triple stack. Oh, this pawn's undefended. I just noticed. So what was his move? Okay, he moves his knight. What's the drawback? I should have said free pawn. I guess he could go here, but that weakens the dark square so much that would have been good for me. Although this is a cool pin. Wait, did he blocked that with a pin? I didn't even realize. I'm just moving so fast, I'm not even realizing what's happening. He pinned himself. I didn't even see that he pinned himself. So did I have this here? Check. Take. Or he jumps in here. Yeah, I probably had stuff. But okay. So now I still have stuff. And I have this. Now that I'm taking his time so I could actually look at the position with my eyes. Okay, so what else do I have? If I go here, now he's not hitting my queen. If I go here, he can hit my queen this way. I get a queen. He gets a queen. I get a pawn. He gets a piece. I get a piece. I'm up a pawn. It's kind of lame. I could just take the pawn here. He moves the rook. I could play b6. I can bring the bishop back with check. He takes. I take with check. King f1. Queen takes c2. Rook over. I don't really know. Hard to say with a minute on my clock. Although I prefer my position over his, so. I love everything I did aside from making this. I mean, the few moves I just made were so fast. I obviously had better moves, and the only questionable move otherwise is the e4 pawn push. So he retreats his queen, which I don't get. I'm gonna play on the pin and just see what happens. I have a minute. I don't have time to think or calculate all that junk. There's a pin. Just I don't care if it weakens my king and gives him squares. He can go here. I get a queen. He gets a queen. I get a piece. He gets a piece. That's not good for me. So if he goes here, at the end of the day, his queen is still hanging. So taking this pawn is bad because it opens up the file. So where can I move my queen? I have no time, so I just picked the only available square I saw. His queen's still hanging. He can't put any of his 3 pieces here, which is kind of cool. So this pawn is super strong, actually. It's kind of funny. So now he hides his queen. That's kind of cute. No time to think. Just take the pawn. Don't care. I don't care about him taking the knight and winning the b pawn in the future. If he goes rook here. My bishop's currently undefended, so he attacks it. And I will defend it in a very precarious way, but it coordinates on this square, so I'm thinking of escaping via this route. It might work move by move. It is a precarious construction like this, but it might work move by move. I don't know. All I know is with his queen on g1, I'm not worried about getting checkmated. He has this, which is kind of a cute move, but it doesn't do anything. Let's give the check and get ready to trade since we're out of time. This knight is actually misplaced and out of the game. We're hitting the rook. We're hitting the pawn. Now I want to throw my e-pawn off the board so I can get my queen in the game. I also have an inactive rook. The problem is doubling. There's always this bishop here. But after I take this pawn, I can snap the bishop or dislodge it. So I'm going to take this pawn and then see what he does. His bishop's hanging. Well, not hanging. I'm going to take it. He goes there. He's threatening a check, but I'll just take the bishop. He has no double check with a discovery, like a knight discovery check. His king's in the center. That goes back. That's annoying. Let me just get out of the checks because I have 19 seconds. Oh no, I don't have enough time. I'm gonna lose on time for sure. I think I'm just gonna push this pawn. 18 seconds. Move, 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 move. Forget about the move, just move. Doesn't matter what the move is, just move. Just move. This is something. Get the bishop in the game. This gets my queen in the game, but I do not want to unlock his queen. This prevents his king from castling. I can also go b4. No idea what's happening. 15 seconds. Move, 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 move. All you need to do is move, and he'll flag because he's dumb. He could have won already just by making random moves, but he spent 3 minutes for no reason. Just move. Just move. Now this is a thing. I need to take that bishop off the board. It's annoying. Just move. All these squares are covered. I don't know why he moved his queen there. Just move. Just move. Just move. I'm gonna pre-move. There's no way he... And the pre-move wins. Why would he take all that time and not just make a move? Having said that, let's flip the board. It probably looks terrible from his point of view. You see, this is why you don't take the H-pawn earlier when you had the chance, because look at the pressure he would have had. I mean, it's still defended, but it makes it way more tactical and scary. With this pawn here, it's invincible because he can't take his own pawn. So, thank you. And in the meantime, like, what are you doing? It looks like you're getting crushed. So I guess he just couldn't come up with any move because you're in like zugzwang. Like, you just don't have legal moves that make any sense. That's why he was doing stuff like this. So, out of curiosity, where's the analysis button? Oh, here. I'm just very curious how bad E4 or E5 was, whenever that was. Yeah, so even here it's moved 10 and it's minus 0.7. It's just a very easy to play position. The plan is already made. You don't have to think about it. You just push F5 like King's Indian, and your pieces all have nice places to go. So anyway, yeah, they do like F5, which is what I played. Yeah, G6, which is an idea in the King's Indian, doesn't actually work here because of Bishop H6. But yes, taking with the pawn is very nice generally because that pawn protects this square, which prevents his pieces from going there. In this case, it wasn't a possibility, so I played a 5 immediately. Fine. Oh, this is clever. Bishop. Anyway, so where's the move? Here. So I know it's bad. I want to see how bad. It might give away the entire advantage. Yeah, so this pawn is hanging. But instead... Yeah, that pawn's hanging. Also, I was considering b6, which is top 3 move. And yes, now white's better. You see, I knew it was a bad move. It just opens up all of his pieces. You see how they're all stifled here? And when I push past, it opens all of them up. You see that? They all become good. It's like I just turned the key and unlocked the position for him. I thought dynamically that it could be interesting and fun, which it definitely is. But I also knew structurally it cannot be good. That's why I kept mentioning it multiple times, because in my mind I'm like, there's no way this is good. But it definitely is interesting. Okay, so it is super bad like I thought. Yeah. Still playable to the point where, like, okay, so his best move is Bishop G4. He plays it, right? And then I play not the best move. And then he plays H4, also the top move. So he's still playing top lines after I made that positionally bad pawn push. And he played 2 accurate moves. I didn't play the best move. Again, not the top choice. Now it's almost +2. And again, he plays the top move H5, going again. And again, I do not play the top move. I take. And they're saying he's a +4. Oh, but he didn't take. He was supposed to take the bishop. So down this whole line, there's like, you know, infinite possibilities, infinite lines, not infinite, but however many lines. And one of them is the reason why this is all bad. And it's H takes G. Now, my plan here was to take the bishop. And they're saying he's better, or he's winning completely, because after this, and he takes, I guess he's just going to double stack, and with this pawn here, my king is dead. And I totally missed that. The only thing I saw in my head was, he's going to kick me, I'm going to take a piece, he's going to take a piece, I'm going to take a piece, he's going to take a piece. I didn't realize that in between all this, he's going rook h7 check, because I didn't even pay attention. I didn't even see the rook, to be honest. I was just looking at the pawn. So yeah, in hindsight, that doesn't work, because that's just a mating construction. So you're gonna have to sack everything to try to get out of it. Very interesting. But he took the knight, which of course gives me instant way out. And again, from here, I like black's position. Very interesting. And now you guys can see why you need to be extremely careful when you push pawns. And as mentioned in my last viewer game analysis video, you need, or the one before that, you need to look at pawn pushes in the context of piece activity. So if you push this pawn, it blocks both of my pieces and unblocks all of his pieces. So can't be good, right? Unless there's some tactic where you win material, and even then, who knows? So, but that's how you learn. You have to make these dynamic moves. You have to try it. You have to see what happens, and then you have to see what the engine thinks, and that's how you learn. So, and even next time I see this, I'm still pushing because I can't stop myself. So, hopefully you learned something from this game. Hopefully my train of thought helps. I might have to move into longer games. We'll see. I cannot think and talk and do everything I need to do to make this a quality video for you guys. Um, keep submitting your rapid games in Discord. It's a lot of fun reviewing them. Goodbye.